we'll be here to discuss the jail study, and there are several people in the audience that are going to be here that we would like to hear from. The way we're going to do this thing first, we'll be talking to, we'll let the people in the audience have 5 minutes to express their opinion of what needs to be done or what they think should be done in working toward giving us a new jail in this community. Limit it to 5 minutes, if you will, and after that, we'll go back to the commission and let each one of you share your opinion with us too. I know there's several of you I've talked to in the meantime that would like to have something to say. So at this point, anyone in the audience that would like to talk about the jail study program that's ongoing, would you please stand up and come to the podium, identify yourself, and let us hear what you've got to say. Don't stampede, just...
Well, I will. My name is Gwendolyn Holden. I live at 2343 Silver Springs Road. Okay. I will say one thing. You'll never build a jail big enough to hold the convicts. It'll always get bigger and bigger. But what I'm saying is, does the city, do they pay anything for housing their convicts or their people that break the law? Why not? I mean, they should pay a part of it as same as the county. We need to check into that. If we're going to build a new jail, that would help with building the new jail. I think the city should pay their part. I wish we didn't have to have a bigger jail. It would be nice if we could just, live happy and not break the law and do what God tells us to do. But it doesn't work that way, not till Jesus comes. So I just think the city should pay their part, and that's what I have to say. And you need to check into that.
Thank you, dear. Who's next? Mr. Ingram, I know you were dying to get up here and say something.
You have any questions I can answer? I'll be more than glad to.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I reckon what we'll do is start around the table here with the commissioners, and since we're allowing everybody else 5 minutes, that's why I got him written down there. Okay. As I said, my phone, Mr. Laker. Excuse me, Bill.
Okay. I just want to take a few minutes and update everybody on where we are, and you've got in front of you the presentation, and so just want to talk a little bit about numbers and what was presented to the prior commission, and where we are based on actions that have been taken to this point. Through the month of September in 2018, from January through September, our average daily population was 435. And at the end of June, at the end of 6 months, it was 422. So we saw a little uptick during the third quarter. The high for that period was 474, which was early July when that took place. Male average population was 311, female 124, and the state prisoners were between 60 and 65. As far as population trends, this information comes from the jail, which is the 435, and then the rest of the information comes from Mosley and their projections. In the middle column is the average daily population. That's the projection of the average daily population based on the information that they got from the jail from 2012 to 2016. And so that was the projection. The 435 is what I got today from Captain Laws. And then 434 is what was in the Mosley report, 460 and 487. The right-hand column is, that's the projection when you add in 20% premium or additional bodies for, or need for sales for classification purposes, whether it be male versus female or maximum security versus minimum, when you may have some empty sales because you don't have, let's say you have more, let's say you don't have enough maximum security to put in, let's say you have 10 maximum security sales, okay? And then you only have 5 to put in there. Is when in proper classification, you might not want to put a medium security person in with a maximum. So that would leave those 5 vacant. That's kind of what the classification 20% premium means. And then a peak factor, which is, I showed you the 474, which was our peak in July, and then the women's peak, and then they factor in a 9% addition based on our history. So those are the projections up to 2040 when you take ADP, add 20% for classifications, and then add another 9% for peak factor. So those are those population trends that Todd Davis, who is their jail consultant or their jail specialist, gave us. And then here's the breakdown on the 634. We average around 70% male, 30% female. So you break the 634 down, that's where you get the 444 and the 190. Jim Hart from CTAS, their jail management consultant, will give you, and has given us the breakdown on normally, here's the number of maximum security sales you need, special needs sales, medium security, minimum security, and that's what those percentages are all about. And then the 3 options that are presented to the commission in July, these were the number of beds in those options, and those were 561, 596, and 611. And that was various options of using the property that we have purchased over off Allison Street and 3rd North, and using some of the space that we already had, renovating some of it, and adding the new building, and then adding the 611 bed option you'd also add to the workhouse. So those are the three options that were presented for that location over there. And then what we've done to date as far as what the commission, the prior commission and this one has authorized, is that we have purchased all the property in that area that has been authorized. The block between the Justice Center and 3rd and between Esco Way and Allison Street is all county property now. The testing, the asbestos testing, the demolition, and the land survey for that property has been funded. The asbestos testing will take place next week, and then the demolition will take the results of that asbestos testing. We have to send it to Nashville, to TDEC, and then when they come back, and then we'll put the bid together for the demolition depending on the outcome of the asbestos testing, and we should award that bid in January. So that's kind of where we are at this point. That's where we are. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I've got.
Anybody have any questions for the mayor?
I got 5 questions. Has factored in the number of inmates who make bond every month?
Not unless they're in the ADP, or the ones who make bond in the ADP.
What is the, in the ADP is just what we got at that time in Cartwright.
If there was somebody awaiting to be released on the bond, we count them.
If they were did, yeah.
So if they're booked
But
in,
it wouldn't be, what, 5 people at the most, 10?
We had 400 made bond last month.
But were they booked into the jail?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be.
You have to be booked in before you make bond.
So that would be an average of 13 people a day.
Yeah, that's about what we average on
Is
good
that
weekend.
my math, I think.
Now,
close on that.
What, I think we saw this at Coffee County. Joe and I saw this over in North Carolina, and we've seen it in other jails that we visited. And Jim Hart did an average length of stay study for us. And the bulk of our population stayed in jail less than 7 days. And so where you put a lot of your focus during your design is in the booking area, those holding cells at the front, and then, because that's where your activities will be. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's something that has
This is
come
just
up.
a scenario, because Kentucky went through this too, and they did it with the bonding system, because the court wanted it. The Tennessee Association of Professional Bail Agents, we pay $100,000 for lobbyists a year to stay in business, because people in Nashville don't want us. And so I'm just saying, if that were to ever happen, Kentucky said it wouldn't happen, but it did. So,
Well, too, it's hard for us to plan, it's hard for us to plan for that, plus plan for any changes with sentencing reform or anything like that. That stuff we can't control. And so I think what Mosley's done and the numbers that I've run is based on history. That's about as good.
What's the history from 2010 to 18 of our jail?
About
About level fifth?
double.
We've done,
It's probably gone from 240 to this number.
to this number in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
In 8 years.
Why are these numbers so low then?
What numbers?
This
It's
number
based
here,
on,
two-
it's based on the
you're-
last,
32 years, you're only talking 50 people. No,
Right.
22 years. You're going from 2018 to 2040, and that's only basically less than 50 people.
22 years.
are you talking about the projection with the classification in the peak factor? Well,
Yeah, I'm just going either one of them, 435 to 487.
well, that's what, basically, I guess, Scotty, what the numbers they used was 2012 through 2016. They haven't used 17, they haven't used 18 yet. So that would increase these numbers. But what we're showing, what this is showing.
If you tell me that the jail in the last 10 years doubled, and you're in a double population, and then here you are, you're telling me in, what am I getting at, 22 years.
The jail's 42 years old, you gotta look at that.
Yeah.
Look at it from there to then.
Right.
The reason that the jail is overcrowded now, according to the judge, is meth.
Right.
It's a mandatory 30 days.
Right.
No exceptions. He did 12,000 hours last year. That's 130 people. So you look at that 130 off that, not that the meth's going to change, I'm just saying, a really big overcrowding issue has been with meth of late, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's the opioid problem, it's a
Right.
problem, but it's not a jail problem. I believe they said the Sessions judge had 2 cases in a year,
Yeah.
or 2 years,
He
wasn't it?
told me that same thing.
That's not the issue. They have to, by law,
On the mayor.
on the meth, and that's where the overcrowding problem.
And the bonds are higher, and they can't make bonds.
With that too, but I'm just saying that it is because of the meth. It's a mandatory. You bond it whatever you want to do, but they still have to serve 30 days sometime. Is that correct, Tim? Is that found guilty?
No, they can make a bond.
They still, if they're found guilty,
They're
they
found
have to
guilty,
do the
that's
30
right.
days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And there's
That's the
no,
court
not
process.
29, not 13, not 32, 30. Act by law. And that's Doug, I mean, the ones that had, I'm sure you said you talked to him, but he said that the biggest reason for the big increase in the last year and a half and 2 years has been the meth.
Not but is that going down?
No, that's not gonna work.
We've cured the opioid problem, meth and the heroin problem has come up. We've solved that issue about opioids.
So this line of meth now, though, has replaced the meth houses and things that we used to have in Greenville, right? I mean, where they cook it themselves, now it's coming from out of the country.
Not necessarily, most of them. They still have some boys that haven't caught on to economies of scale.
Has there been any change, you guys seen any change in that slowing down? The volume coming in, I mean,
It's drug of choice. It's gonna evolve. The problem with meth is, I think, crack cocaine is 7 hours. Meth is 12 hours, and if they continue to do it, they can push it up to days and days. But the problem is, when you use meth one time, it dumps all the dopamine in your brain out. It take up to 10 years to come back. So if you got a meth addict, to actually take him and put him in rehab for 30 days, or take him to rehab for even 6 months, it can take up to 10 years for the brain to get back where it needs to be. It's not a short-term drug, it's a long-term drug, but it's one-time use. They're chasing that high for the rest of their life.
They're gonna find that drug.
And it's drug of choice. If it's not meth, it's gonna be pills. If it's not pills, it's gonna be crack cocaine, or fentanyl is coming on there.
And,
well, then that comes back to my question, though. From 2018
you're
to
saying that
2020.
631 ain't enough.
Huh?
You're saying 631 beds isn't
I don't
enough.
think it is in those 22 years.
No.
So you think that you built it for what, 3,000?
No.
I mean, I'm just curious.
No, honestly, I mean, I think you should be going to jail for 1,000 people. By the time you get it done, it's 4 years from now, what, 3 years? How long it take to build a jail?
How much time in one day, Teresa, do you spend battling the overcrowding problem? How much time in a day?
That's a total continuous problem. Moving people around is fights and trying to find where they be housed at. It never ends.
Where that time can be spent somewhere else?
Do what?
They're
Where that
jailers.
time can be spent doing something
What would
somewhere
they
else?
be
Yeah.
doing? I mean, I'm asking, what would they be doing? They're jailers. What would they be doing?
Personally, I could be spending time with my family instead of calling me at night, asking for a house somebody.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that you're still gonna have an issue. If you build that over there for 10,000 people, there's gonna be an issue in jail. There always has been, there always will be.
Yeah, there will always be.
That's
issues,
why they're there.
But there won't necessarily be overcrowding issues.
Not that-
If you have various cells, 2-man cells, you've got 2 people per cell.
Right.
You've
And
got
that's what
single-man cells,
they
you've a lot of that.
requirements of, your
That's my next
doctrine,
point.
everything,
Meet TCR.
yeah, TCI requirements.
Overcrowding creates other things like the fights that you have.
Correct.
If we went to another, and I'll just tell you how I see this right now, it's time we put something down the road like he's talking about, that we don't have to worry about this overcrowding problem. We get rid of the fights. If you go to a system where we can put 2 to a cell, we've discussed this a lot with each other, and it's time, we need to move forward with this and take this overcrowding problem and get it took care of. And let's move on to things that needs to be done.
What would that be?
Shutting down on the fight. 2 to a cell. And more training, whatever, how many times have we went through jail? How many jails have we went through?
And how long period?
That's what the question too.
Do what?
Say,
Well, they're
3
short
months.
now.
We're 7 down right now, and, what do we mark them off the calendar each year.
This year,
And I think it's like 30.
94 people come up to this year.
Well, I'm in agreement, I think, with others here. We can't go just a minimum, and
Jim,
we're gonna get away with this.
if I may, I think the biggest problem you're gonna have is command and control. You got 5 different units there, and how are you gonna command and control all that with all their personnel? You can't. It's a waste of time. It's been brought up several times. This needs to be, personally, I think it needs to be thrown in the trash can. We need to put a jail out here somewhere that we can control.
Yes. You can't
you
control
can't.
that one.
Huh?
You don't think you can control?
Well, yeah, if you're gonna have to raise tax money, because look how many people you're gonna have to control this place.
So we're not
You
gonna
cannot send a person, if you have to go to court
we're
or
not gonna
food,
raise
whatever,
tax money for
you
the
can't
government.
send a person from the annex up here down here, or just go down there to court, will you? You gotta have them escorted down there. Then you're gonna have somebody staff that place up there, and you're talking about 5 different
We're not
units.
gonna raise the taxes for another jail.
I'm sorry?
You said with no,
I said, we'll have
You
to.
said there would be you don't think we'll have to with another one?
If it's done right, no. If it's done right, no.
Oh, really? That's what I'm for.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And show me how to do it, and I'll glad to vote yes.
Let me, bring it to the body here, the attention of the emergency status that we are at the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. We should never have females and males together, never. We do that every day over there, because that's all we've got. That's a violation of law, to have inmates, talking to each other, walking by each other, females and males. The biggest problem that we have at the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department is, of course, drug addiction and overcrowdedness. Overcrowdedness compounds many problems. It increased medical bills, it increased liability. It just, we got 9 positions open. We had 8 or 9 that was on the roster to test. We had 4 people show up to test. 2 of them failed the test. The 2 that passed, we told her after she has the baby to come back. And the other one, we told him to go get his driver's license and to come back. So we had 2 that passed. One's pregnant, one don't have a driver's license. That's where we are. I want you all to understand that jail is your responsibility. We, the people over here, try to manage your jail, but we have been doing the impossible for the last 12 years. This is not a surprise that we have an overcrowded jail. I addressed that problem with the county commissioners in 2006. Now, I'm not real good at math, but we're approaching 13 years of kicking the can down the road. It's your call.
We're not here to kick the can down.
I appreciate that, and I do believe
We want it
that.
done.
But it's your call. We have let you know what the problem is. We have let you know how serious the problem is. But we cannot continue to hold it together with what we deal with over there. We just cannot continue to do that. It's going to break at the seams eventually, and it's going to be ugly when it breaks, because we are not equipped to handle a riot over at the Hamilton County Jail right now.
Cliff, let me ask you something. We've got a tremendous turnover in personnel at the jail. I'm well aware of that. It seems like the first reason is lack of pay. And second is the dangers incurred with the job itself. How much additional money would it take to get people to work in the jail? Now, obviously, we don't have a lot of money to go around, but how much more money is it gonna take to get competent people working in the jail? That will make
Answer
it
your
safer
question,
for-
I cannot answer
Yeah,
that
yeah,
question because
because-
I'm not, I don't analyze things like that, because that's not something I can do. But money is not the only issue that prevents people from coming over there. It's the working condition in the jail that they have to work under those conditions. It's the air, the bad air that they have to breathe with the inmates over there. It's the, it's an old jail built underground, the only one in the state of Tennessee that is actually built underground. And most people in this room understand when you build underground in a sinkhole where water runs downhill, you're going to have, not surprisingly, mold problem, mildew. We have painted that jail from the front door to the back door, and it looks good, Teresa, for 2-3 months, don't it? And then guess what, people? The mold and the mildew comes back because the air is not fit to breathe at the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department.
Another question, sir.
It's a jail, that's right, it is jail, but we have an obligation, to
I
maintain.
said it was at the jail, just not the sheriff's department.
Yeah, it's the jail situation, but we have an obligation to maintain a humanitarian condition, not just for the inmates, but for the employees as well.
what are we gonna do with the existing population while we're trying to build a new jail? We can't leave them there hoarded together. We've gotta have some sort of temporary plan to split these people up a little bit, spread them out, without making it more dangerous to the officers. That's why we have you guys here, by the way. We need everybody's input on this. It has anything to do with, the commissioners can't do it. Heck, most of us don't have any idea what really goes on over there. We've got to get ideas from everybody on a regular basis.
You can't just house inmates at different locations because of the TCI standards. That's the Tennessee Correctional Institution standards. They have standards that is ridiculous. It's just like they have to be able to see outside to determine what the weather condition is outside. We have to furnish cable TV to inmates. There's a lot of things that we have to furnish, but it's mandated by law. And to answer the question a few minutes ago about the city, I researched that, and the only thing the city has to pay for is if somebody gets sentenced in the county jail, they have to violate a municipal law, like spitting on the sidewalk, and they get 3 days in Hamilton County Jail. The city has to pay for their custody of that, which is ridiculous because what it boils down to, the city doesn't have to pay anything to house the inmates, and they probably generate, what, Teresa, 70% of the population over there?
I would say no.
The city of Morristown, and this is no offense against the city of Morristown, just stating the fact. They generate probably 70+% of the inmates, but they pay nothing on the upkeep, but because that's mandated by law. The law says that the sheriff's department will be the custodian of the inmates.
What's the tax rate? You may know. Inside.
Inside, combined or county? County?
City, what's the city tax rate? Our part of the city tax rate. Well, they don't, what's the garbage tax? I can figure it out.
I think it's 23.
Oh, so they pay $1.66. What you think's worth more, the city property or the county property? Got a 50-50 chance, take one. Anybody.
There's no
Who pays
landfills.
more taxes?
There's no
City or
landfills.
county? Where does that money go? That part, the assessment, where does that $1.66 go? Anybody know? Anybody want to take a stab at that?
Police
Goes to
department.
Hammond County. They pay their fair share, probably more than their fair share of the jail. Want to let y'all know that.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
It doesn't come out of their budget, but their funding comes through the Hamilton County budget. You know the number exactly, Bill. I was trying to look up, and I couldn't find the assessment.
I got $1.90 total inside.
No, the assessment, the city versus the assessment of the county. The city's valued at 30% more than the county. Would you guess?
They also get
It's probably
I can-
60-40.
so that
Ours
pays
was
for that.
60/40. They're paying more than we are. Who lives in the city here? 1, 2, 3, Joe, 4. He doesn't live in the city, does he? So we're paying it twice. But there again, that city tax, none of that money goes toward the jail. And it's $1.09, I believe, coming up, $1.14, they put a 5-cent tax rate. So they're paying $1.04. I'm paying, Taylor's paying, whoever else lives here in the city, Tom paying, and Joe's paying $1.66 of our taxes goes to the Hamilton County. So we are, the city is paying for the jail, more so than the county, just because of the assessment of the industry. That's the difference. So people said that forever and ever and ever. They've never paid anything. Sure they have. The only thing we're required by state, okay, we have to furnish a sheriff. Davidson County Metro, who owns the jail? Who?
How are we correct?
Who, I know, I'm just trying to let you know,
Oh, I know.
when you're saying that the
appreciate
city doesn't pay anything, yes, they do, they pay more than the county does. How do we know, you know, Davidson County Metro government, best job in the state of Tennessee, what's that sheriff doing there? Runs the jail, that's it.
That's it.
The city provides all the police protection. He's got it made. He doesn't have his shield, but they are building a new jail. Do I know what the problem is? Yeah, I know what the problem is. Do I know what the fix is? I think I do. But it's not chasing dollars after people. We've got huge problems. Would we rather educate the youth or spend the money on prisoners? I don't know.
Or pay
We've
them.
got to
I
do
know what my
both.
vote is. What we're gonna have to do in Hamilton County and the United States of America is fix the addiction problem, because we can never build enough facilities to house drug addicts.
Build 5,000.
It is ridiculous to think that we can build ourselves out of the drug addiction.
Do you know when the last opioid problem was in the United States? 90 years ago? Of course, I don't barely remember it, but what fixed it? Repeal the prohibition. Read about it. This ain't our first opioid problem. You can hug all you want to, but that is the issue. They're going to find something. If it's alcohol or if it's drugs, and there's going to be an abuse of that by certain people. How many people we got in Hamilton County? 63,000?
64 plus.
64 plus. And how many we got over in the jail?
Half of
In and out, yes.
But I mean, you know, if you look at it, 1% of that number would be 640.
it. And that's true. And
So
the
we
thing-
got 0.7% of the population in the jail.
Right, and it's going, and the problem's just going to get worse before it gets better. So we need to be, Hamilton County needs to be prepared for that crisis whenever it hits us. It's hitting us now. But we need to be ready, we need to build and be prepared for what's coming down the road. And I believe it's going to be a whole lot worse. And building here, guys, I just don't believe is the answer.
How many do you think we should have, Tim?
Well,
How
right
many
now,
do you think we ought to have?
we need a 500 bed right now. Okay, but we need to be prepared to build, for a whole lot more, 500 more if we had to, then 600 more if we had to.
Yes.
Whatever we need, led down the road. We
We
just
went,
can't sit back on our laurels, spend money, and 10 years down the road, they're gonna say, man, we need a new jail. Well, we ain't finished paying this one off yet. Well, we ain't got no room over there to extend no more. You know, you can only go from fast. And guys, I'm telling you, look at it. If you've got 5 different units you're putting prisoners in, logistics, you're gonna kill you. Logistics, you're gonna kill the tax base.
Tim,
Because it's gonna take all of it.
several of us went to Coffee County.
Been there.
They've got, they got 2 pods. Each pod's got 21,000 square feet in it. Their whole complex has got 77,000 in it. So, and that's 2 pods, that's for 400 people. And the sheriff told us he could keep 430 people. And he's got a man on each shift, work 12 hours a day. He's got 2 people can overseeing 430 people, or 400 people. Everything but the ones on suicide watch and a couple of other instances.
But you're not gonna have that with this.
Huh?
You're not gonna have that with this setup.
You can build 4 pods on that, cause 107,000 square feet, and 4 pods is gonna be 84,000 feet.
That's not a,
That's 800 people.
that's not a good location.
That's a jail with 800 people. And if you use your annex, you're throwing another 150. If you use, work deal, you're putting in another 30 to 60 people. So you're getting close to 1,000 people if y'all just add it up.
As
getting close to 1,000 people you can put over on that property on Allison Street and Third North.
As Tim was saying earlier, we need room for expansion. This thing, most of us know this thing's not gonna get any better. And it's public safety, for an example, the children. These druggies go to children to get them hooked early on, and it spreads, and that's their way of getting income. And a lot of people, well, don't have work ethic now, so they're gonna do this drug stuff. And, you know, we've got to have a place. You know, the children are at risk right now because there's so much of that going in schools. I don't feel we have a choice. We need at least an 800 bed facility, and then add on to that, have the property there to add on as we need it, because we're gonna need it.
In my opinion, matters to anything, I think you need to scrutinize your thought process very carefully before you continue to build in a sinkhole. Because that's what you got over there at the sheriff's department, is a sinkhole. I think there's a lot of other options that should be on the table that you're looking at, and one of those options would be for expansion. You have got to think about expansion. Yes.
This sinkhole problem, where this property's at on Allison Street, there's not a sinkhole up there.
Do what now?
On Third and Allison, that's not down in the sinkhole.
What are you gonna do with the sinkhole property that's the jail sitting on now? Because it's not gonna get any better. It's been decertified. It will never be recertified.
You don't think that new annex, 156 bed would be acceptable? Can't use it?
I don't think so, no.
Can't use the old jail for booking?
You want to put a mask on and go on them book things, you might be able to.
You know, my basement, it's underground.
How many people you want to put in it?
Huh?
How many people can you put in your basement?
You're
I get about 8.
Yeah, I'm just saying that dehumidifier takes all the mold. I don't have mold, I don't have odor in it.
We have tried everything that resources are available to us to address the mold problem. And we can't stay ahead of the mold problem, because when they take this, to give you an example, Commissioner, when they take a shower, there's a lot of steam coming off of that shower, and that steam enhances the mold factor, and we can't overcome the mold factor in the jail. And the state of Tennessee, TCI, said that jail will never be recertified.
Gentlemen, we've got a major problem here. We've got to do some thought, get some serious thinking about what we're going to do now. We don't have 3 years to fill the jail. We've got all these people laying in the floor together. We've got 114 on cots, or something like this, over 100 people laying on cots in the jail now.
180.
We have got to get some of these people out of there in some kind of temporary housing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Taylor, have you got any other counties that might take some of them? They're all full. Knox County's full.
That's not plausible, because most of your, just because you got so many numbers in the jail, you have a certain percentage that you can get up to before you get overcrowded. But even with that percentage, you've got basically empty beds with that percentage. But if you go beyond that, then you are considered overcrowded. Just like the jail that we have, it's broken up in so many sections that if one section is overcrowded, then the whole jail fails inspection. The isolation section, we really need a space for classification. We are in violation of classifying the inmates every day. We've got felons with misdemeanors, and we got females side by side with males. We are constantly in violation. I want y'all to understand that. I'm not being ugly with any of you, but I'm trying to educate you. We have a serious problem at the Hamilton County Jail. Classification overcrowdedness.
That's like Taylor said, is there something we can do to help temporarily? It's gonna be more than a couple of years before we get this done.
The problem is, if you find somebody to take these prisoners, that's gonna be a very temporary fix.
Well, I don't mean,
And let me share something else with you, excuse me for a minute, and you brought up a good point, Commissioner. The thing about it is, these other jails will not take anything still, state prisoners. So you shoot yourself in your foot when you're sending out your state prisoners, because that's what the budget is projected. We got roughly about 60 now, Teresa.
Right now, I've got about 44, because I got some 11 prison beds last week, and some different programs going on, which is jail to work, it's going to get ready to take 8. And, but I am down a little bit on state prisoners right now, and that's where you know, Hawkins County asked me if I had 2 or 3 felons to send up there could work the kitchen, that was, and actually, I think I came up with 3.
And the other thing, we don't send inmates to another sheriff if we know that they are going to cause problems or they got a lot of medical problems. We just don't do each other that way. We send what we can that would be somewhat of a model inmate. But the only inmates they're going to take is felon inmates, which is state inmates. They will not take the misdemeanors. I mean, they just deadbeats, you know. And our jail is 90% misdemeanors, man.
Oh, the numbers are way up there, yeah.
And you know, that's what the problem is wait for trial, can't make bond, this, that. There's just so many issues. But our jail is so chopped up in so many different segments that we can't see all the hidden spots, even with all the cameras that we have. It's not efficiently built.
Let's go, what do you think a temporary fix is right now? To help you overcome it. You're looking at 3 years if you get a new jail or here or there or wherever. Because you're not gonna have one. You're gonna be 3 years building. So what kind of, you got any kind of fix we might be able to look at or?
I don't know one.
I mentioned your friend of mine was down here in Rick.
You sent some of us
One
an
of these
email.
hotels downtown and, or out on AJ and put them in a hotel. They said they never believed they held one of them, so.
Well, you know, once again, we got to prevent. We can't just keep housing these people. At some point, we have got to prevent this crisis from taking place.
Gotta get started, right?
Yeah. We got to prevent it from taking place. We can't continue. We can't build. We just can't do this. I mean, we talk about millions and millions of dollars, and that's just technically, regardless of what we build, 500, 600 man bed, it's going to have to be addressed 15 years or 10 years down the road, once again, unless we get the handle on the drug problem.
Well, that's where I think a lot of the jail that we're looking to build, that we'd like to build, that we'd like to see y'all have, is where in that jail, you have classrooms, places to go where you can go in and try to rehab these people.
That's the key right there, rehab. Let these people, rehab is a tough thing, tough road to walk. You know, these people got to want to change their lifestyle. They got to want to change. You can't make them get on the road.
Yeah.
Not all of them are rehabable, though. They have nothing to rehab back to.
That's
Mr.
what,
Harrod, you had a question for me?
Is there not, I know you sent us an email about some possibilities out there of, I'll call it a portable unit. But I went online, I couldn't get much information, it didn't tell us how large they were or how much they cost or anything.
That's what they call pods. And once again, that's just a temporary thing. To answer your question, Commissioner Smith, pods would be an answer, but once again, you've got to house inmates that, once again, it's broken up in a fraction from the main jail, so you got another satellite unit over here that you got to maintain with employees that we can't get right now. We can't get employees to come work up there.
Now, that Coffee County, that man told us that they work 12 hours.
He was down 15 too. Everybody, employee issue is not saying that sheriff department, employee in America, that's a problem for everybody.
Amen.
Problem for everybody.
Yeah, I think they said
It is. I had a guy call me the other day. He's a cop. He's a police officer, and he applied and wanted to go into the jail. Figures he had several years behind him. Don't know him very well. Brian Reinhardt's his name. and he was told he had a job up there.
We're good there.
Yeah.
Stop right there, okay? I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Well, I mean, if there's something seriously wrong with it, he should be a cop anywhere. But if he's a good, employable person, I don't know him, but I don't have an issue, I don't know. Evidently. Okay.
Let me say this real fast, I'll try to be quiet. If we don't hire someone to Commissioner Goins, I'm gonna be quiet. If we don't hire someone to Commissioner Goins, there is a dire reason why we don't hire a person.
When this guy,
Because we hire for
if
employees.
it's that bad, because we need people bad, if it's that bad, he shouldn't be a police officer anywhere.
Well,
He isn't currently.
Pardon me?
He isn't currently.
He's had 3 jobs in less than a year. How's that?
I'd say
I can't tell.
Don't know his
I mean,
history.
this particular person you said.
I will share this with you, we have had employees that have left the sheriff department, they have reapplied, and we have rehired, because that's how desperate we are.
Hey, Bill, how many acres of ground is this, 425 here? What are we torn down over there?
Just
around
where
the Desco? How many acres?
It's 2.3.
Huh?
2.3.
2.3. That whole facility, we looked at the other day, is on less than 2 acres. It's 70,000.
Didn't have any courtroom.
But that's too, it don't take a bigger facility, I mean, and you said once they told you 15 acres? What was
everything
what was
to
the
be on.
study, what did the study tell you?
Oh, they said 25 acres.
25, okay, how many people, how many beds?
Initially, the initial projection, the very first study was 650. And,
They get paid for what they speak.
Oh, I got you, I understand all that. I'm very
But
familiar.
they got standards, they
I'm
got.
very familiar with that, but I'm just trying to look at, okay, if we're married to this piece of land, then there may be some other ways that you do things over here to this land, or do we look at, you know, have we looked at other options? Have we looked at other land?
this is where the previous commission landed.
Okay.
Look,
Right.
And there's room for expansion on this property,
there is.
they told us that.
There
They
is.
even showed it, how we could expand.
We can expand it, I believe it was 50% of the 400. And when you look at the jail, I believe if you look at it, the jail being 400, if you can find that, I can't quite see that. But over 400, oh, there's another one here on that. And there's some, go to this option right here. Okay, and then when you say this, now, we've got 40 in the workhouse. That counts in that total. And we use the annex, which is 11 years old and 8 years old, is that right?
05 and 08.
Huh?
They were done in 05 and 08.
So we got 13 years and 10 years on the annex. Up and down, I think those total beds is 100 and it's not that many. I believe it's 108.
But what you gotta look at, how many people is it gonna take to run those 2 annexes?
Well, it's going to take
24/7.
more than it is this because the women are separated from the men.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just telling you how the numbers, when it says we're going to build 600 beds, that's not 600 beds in a new facility.
Mm-hmm.
That's counting how many of you got that can go into a workhouse situation today? Yes.
And that would have to be if you expand
I
your.
didn't ask you that, how many can go in there?
Now, right now,
Use guess.
maybe, 20.
And you've got how many in it?
I got 45, somewhere around.
And only 20 of them are eligible.
Right now, yeah.
Okay, why is that?
Well,
I mean, we
that's
can't-
what I started to say, if you would have to broaden it a little bit and use some things felons, because misdemeanors is what we put up there. If you
Okay,
had,
but a
like,
minute ago, you said 97% of them are misdemeanors. Which one?
They're pretrial misdemeanors.
Yeah, that's the key right there. I was reading about Knox County, they got 1,200 inmates, almost 900, 77% of theirs are pretrial in their facility. So
But what you gotta look at though is how many people can take 2 annexes, 2 workhouses to the regular jail, 24/7. And every time someone goes to eat, someone goes to go down to court or whatever, they gotta have an escort.
But there again, this new part of this jail, you can run the annex up and down with how many people now? 2?
Just in the control rooms.
yeah.
That's what I mean. 2 in the control rooms. You got 2 people there. But then there again, what he's saying is these control rooms, when the guy at Coffee County was running every how many, the guys in a control room. That's not, they have more than 2 jailers in that building. Right, Wayne?
Okay, too.
They have more than 2 jailers.
There were people walking in and out, going down through,
There sure was.
serving the needs of those
See,
prisoners. More than 2.
Yeah, 2 in the
Hawkins
control.
County sets up like that. They could run their pods with 1 person. But they 5 or 6 out in the booking,
Yeah.
and then there's 5 or 6 that move them back and
But
forth
what,
to the court.
but what you don't,
Take them to
but
court.
what you're not getting is that every one of these buildings are separated.
Let me finish, please.
One at a time.
And what I'm saying now, if you look at what the population of the jail is over there right now versus what we do, we're talking about building approximately 450 new beds, which will give us a population of 550, 600 people. And we have room to expand that 450 by another 200. That gives us 800.
Okay, then answer my question. If we had a building that housed 800 beds, all right, and you didn't have to do all this moving people back and forth
You still gotta move them.
within the facility, not outside.
The facility here, gonna have the girls in one in the men in the other.
Understand, but you're not gonna have to have half as many people as you do when they're all separated like that.
Okay.
Mr. Shipman, did you have something to say? Sir?
No, I was just gonna ask, Tim, where would you like, for the facility that you're talking about to be located?
I don't know. I'm not saying we have one. Well, we got that old Food City we probably need to relook at. We got some property
Is
out
it
here.
still available?
Yes.
Yes.
I've got the keys to it too, if you wanna go in it.
Wonderful.
There's this building out here, or this place out here off 160. I understand there's 2 places off 168. But we've not visited those sites. We don't know.
You talk about where D Mason's Lake comes up to 160.
You can buy one of the 16th day of November if you want to, for sale, auction.
But these little properties are Cinco's.
I'm sorry?
These little properties are Cinco's.
You know, the thing about it is, you talk
That's not a
about,
sinkhole, it's a low spot.
you talk about room for
Well,
expansion.
City Hall's in a sinkhole,
I agree.
okay? It's in the ground, it's in a sinkhole.
You talk about room for expansion at the current location. Most of those lots has people on them, and they're willing to sell to the county.
Mr. Mayor,
What?
what's that
At
say?
a premium
He's
price,
talking.
at a premium price, okay? Because I know that property is not gonna go cheap. And I don't personally blame the people, because I know how bad, if you're gonna build a jail there, I would hold out for the top dollar.
Bill, what was the estimate, or when there was a conceptual drawing done on that Food City? Can you see, because I saw it with you.
We've got.
I got it.
I'm just saying, what was the existing Food City used for? Nothing to do with the jail. We had to buy 15 more acres to put the jail on. So we were gonna have about 65,000 feet of under roof. For what? And that Food City building, we can't use the Food City building. The architect said we couldn't, right? Yes or no? I can't hear you.
What I remember is that it wasn't doing
There you go.
For everything.
No, no, no.
We got 16 acres behind the jail, we could
We
purchase
don't
the
have
16
16
acres.
acres behind it, it's for sale.
That's what I'm saying, we can purchase it if need be. All right, the thing of it is, can you use part of that for a jail? Sure you can.
I'm sorry?
Sure you can, use part of that building for a jail.
The architect said you couldn't.
Well, the architect, they made one up there in, out of Kmart in Rogersville.
I didn't say.
So maybe we got an architect that don't know what he's
How'd
doing.
they do that?
Huh?
How'd they do that?
How did they do it? Well, that's how he did it.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure they
you know
did.
about it. How'd they do it? They raised the roof.
Well,
I know.
the thing
How much
is,
did they spend up there? All in. How much do you think they spent?
I've got it written down for he's up there, but I can't
Oh,
remember.
maybe you didn't write it down. I know how much it is. You know, and with our courtroom's $13 million.
So what you're saying is we need to go ahead and sit on our laurels, waste money up here to chase good money after bad money.
Your Food City, your partner's Food City building,
Pardon me?
your buddy's Food City building,
No, I'm talking about nobody there.
D.O., I know the story, that's where you got the keys.
D.O.? No, it ain't. No, it ain't. I don't even know D.O. He's the guy that showed it to us the first time. Said he don't even have it anymore.
The
guy named Mark has it.
I'm sorry?
The guy named Mark has it.
That's right. Billy got it. I don't care where you go.
I'm not saying you have to go there. We need to check and look at this stuff.
I think you ought to go, why don't we build it out of Inca?
Let's go.
Yeah, why not?
You know, just build it as far away as we can, cost the most, less the most money. Sure. And we'll put this, I know what we can use that old jail for, is put that, Fairview School in.
If I'm not mistaken, that, building, can be used for anything except the jail.
That's exactly, let's put a boat out there.
There's not enough room left over to build the kind of jail we're gonna need to build.
It's not the jail.
For utilizing the building.
We have to buy, everybody says Food City, but it was like 65,000 feet after I had to do the long one, I pretty much know what the dimensions are. And it would be, they had some big fancy courthouse up at the upper end, behind McDonald's, and the rest of it was vacant. Some courtrooms, about 30,000 feet of it was vacant. So you're paying probably, I don't know, I think it'd be about, what, $2 million, 2.5, was it?
No, it's I think 1.5.
1.5
For all
plus
the
15
property.
acres. And what do you got?
Just the Food City part, we're talking about the 15 acres behind it, wouldn't be inclusive of what we're
It does not go with it.
Okay, that's it.
It's separate, so it's more than that.
What information would you guys like to have that would help you analyze your options? Would you want to?
Estimated cost.
Pardon?
Estimated cost. Don't we have that if to move once, I believe, from Mosley, 65 million or 60 million?
For which option?
To move it from here.
Well, yes, we let them do what they want to do out there.
Is it 60 or 65? In that range? And there were 3 of them. But the most expensive one was 65 million, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember it being that high. It could
Okay.
be. I don't.
There was one that had a 6 for the first number. I do know that. It's a matter of economics.
I mean, on-
You don't speak to Breathitt County or not have be able to do some of the things we need to do.
You know, I think there's some folk are interested in the property out that's gonna be for sale soon. You know, I'd like to know how much it would cost to build a facility there and then look at.
However, what I think
it being an option again.
Before we do that, what I think we need to do is have a revote of who wants to keep it where it's at, who wants to move it, before we go out there doing all that other stuff.
Do you need a staff, before you make that vote, all right, do you need more information on what it would take to staff? Staff this option.
This right here,
I've got one question here before we
So, we
How many
can,
man hours a day will you save if you're not having to juggle prisoners because of overcrowding? How many people can you free up daily just by handling the bedding situation? 4, 5, 6? This will help you with staffing. I mean, y'all use that much daily staffing. I know when we have a overabundance of work, we have to put more staffing towards it. And you're saying overcrowding is a major problem, put staffing. How much can we save? How many people can we knock off of that total that we're not gonna need?
Well, that's just, what we've got now, or if we have our positions filled, that's what you need to do, what you need to do in a jail.
A shift.
We're doing 11 on shift right now.
Total, that's what it should be or what it is.
Now, what it should be, we'll right after that, but that's
But I'm
what.
saying, what should it be? Is that kind of what you're asking?
No, if they're all,
No, if you have volunteer positions filled,
okay,
having you on a shift.
11, I think is what we're.
Okay.
And 12 really worked good as far as that number.
You made a trade for that.
Yes,
What?
for that,
So,
yeah.
Now, you think you won that battle?
Well, I think we lost one somewhere along the way, we never figured out where we lost it at, so.
Oh, I believe he's sitting right behind you.
Well,
They 2 for 1, but so it's 12's the best.
Honestly,
Right.
yeah, it played good, I think. And that's
So it's gonna
really-
be, I guess, 12, whether you have 250 or 450. It's just what it cut when there's an issue.
So it's by person, that's what I'm getting at. They're saying we're gonna have to have even more staffing if we build this bigger jail. But if you free up all these people that you've got dealing with the overcrowding issue right now, that staffing.
When there wasn't overcrowding, they had 12.
Right.
So that's not true. See what I mean? You had 12 then, 12 now.
I do.
Let me comment about what you just said, Toby. No, I had one more token.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is my last chance to get to talk.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
But if we build a new jail and we build with efficiency in mind, we could actually run it with a lot less employees. Am I right, Teresa?
Would be, yeah, I mean, we got.
Because we could see
control
the
of it.
visibility is what's killing us right now.
That was the point I was trying to.
That's the only way you would do it now.
So if you build a jail with that in mind, it could be, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's great, you know.
I contend that we ask the mayor to look, I don't know if we can ask a hypothetical question about a relocation. I know you can give us information over here, or maybe come back with staffing needs, but what about a hypothetical if we did look at a spot, say the MLK place, whatever?
That exists.
I'm just saying,
Hypothetically, it exists. There's a hypothetical to it.
all right.
It's in one of the original 5 or 6 plans.
Okay.
And it tells reasonably the staff. I don't think it was exactly, but
But could we get a comparison maybe, and that would help us decide that type of place? Something that we can come together. I think we all agree we've got to move forward. It's time, we all agree. I think that's a consensus here. We want to move forward and address the sheriff's needs and the county's needs. But you know, we have a divide here that we need to overcome. And maybe more information. Excuse me?
the divide you said.
Yes, sir.
What
Well,
you say the divide is.
I'm just saying of everybody in agreement. We have differences.
We get that.
Not sure, not everybody, but hopefully we get a consensus.
Bill, do you have anything to say?
That's right.
I know when Mosley did this, I sat in on some meetings up there. Stancil asked them twice how many people it would take to run that jail, the plans that they were showing us.
Kinda never answered it, did they?
Huh?
They kinda never answered it, did they?
Never did get an answer. Never did, that I heard.
Sheriff,
You can't talk.
we've got 413 people in the jail. If I talked over you, I'm sorry, I'm still deaf even with a good hearing aid. We've got 413 people incarcerated at this time. How many people do you expect us to have by Christmas and New Year?
We could very well see 500 people. We approaching 500 mark. Isn't that around?
Brings me to another point. What are we going to do immediately to help you?
There's nothing that can be done immediately.
We've got to do something. We're just sitting here spinning our wheels.
And that's if there's not a round.
Though you look at me like you fixing to say something, go ahead.
Well, I'm anticipating.
Oh, I thought you wanted to say something. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, why don't you check and see if you can get some of those old, houses like the school kids are using out here, Fairview, Marguerite and all them places. Where you can get 50 or 100 people in there, each one.
$50,000
Temporary 4-year basis.
Goodness.
To answer your question, Mr. Chairman, there is no easy, quick fix at this point. We lost that opportunity in the last 12 years. No offense to you all, I'm not talking about you all, I'm talking about the previous county commission. They sat on it for 12 years, and then the new county commissioners come in, and they got this, we gotta fix it now, but there is no quick fix. It's a time capsule that takes time to fix.
We gotta take step one before you take step two. Where do we go? We gotta come up with something to get this ball rolling.
Let's go to that temporary housing, would that work for you?
You'd have to jump through so many hoops to get to temporary housing. It's not gonna be cost efficient. And once again, that's money, it's sort of like paying rent. You're gonna lose all that money at some point. If we put pods on the parking lot, we're gonna lose that money at some point. That money that could be put towards something more permanent.
Not only with your temporary housing are you gonna have those issues, but how you gonna staff it?
And you still gotta get food over there, and laundry over there, and medical over there.
If we look at moving this jail, what community is not going to fight it? And how much longer is it going to take to determine whether we can even get enough cooperation and enough buy-in from the community to do it? How much is that going to delay the decision?
You asking about the communities, if we fight it?
Yes.
Well, just to give you an example, like the commissioner talking here, cut shop. Out there on Martin Luther King, I think that's the name of that highway next to Jonathan Cemetery, that's not much of an intrusion on, you know, subdivision that we would know, because you got the cemetery on one side, you got public houses on one side, you got 160 on one side. So technically speaking, that's not going to be much of an intrusion. You say what?
Got high school on one side.
Not nearby.
It has legs, it has legs.
It has possibilities to look at that site, okay? I'm not saying that you need to run up and build on that site, I'm just saying you need to exercise your options of looking at different things. I will go on record to say, I'm dead set against just building where we are right now, because that's a dungeon over there right now.
Even if it was bullet.
Even if it were.
One of the lights till we.
Sheriff, if we build on the existing site and we bulldoze it and build a brand new sparkling Esco Jarnigan Justice Center.
I promise Nancy we'd name it after him.
What do we do? I mean, we've got 400 plus people. What do we do with those? And what do we house those people for the next 2-3 years?
I just asked,
That's
Mr. Joe that same question.
We couldn't do that.
This right here where they're building here, Bobby, this facility, there's nothing on it.
So that's out. We can't. Okay.
We just driving around cars, I guess, I don't know, for 3 years.
Wherever you build it, you're gonna have the same problem for 4 years. If you build it over here, if you build it over on Martin Luther, wherever you build it, you still got 3 or 4 years to look at it.
This is
I'm just like Skip T, and we asked the mayor again to, check their Bible auctions, hypothetically or whatever, you know, to give us something to look at more solidly, whether it's moving out of the hole or not. I mean, I think the property on Martin Luther King is an awesome opportunity, and it fits It's less intrusive to a lot of communities.
Absolutely, it's 30 acres of where you buy.
If it's affordable, I don't know this. I don't know. I'm just
How many
suggesting.
people in town know about it?
I have no idea.
I didn't.
You've heard it somewhere.
No, sir, I don't.
Well, I've heard that 15 different people.
Well, that's probably true, and they're probably gonna make money on it. I mean, can we have a representative there to bid on it? I don't know.
We cannot.
I don't think we can do that.
But I didn't know.
We can't, we have to establish the price.
Okay.
Anyone in here at the last minute that's got some property in mind, please make a note of it, write it down, make sure the mayor gets it. And, I mean, hastily, quickly, this can has been kicked down the road for years, it's time to come to a stop.
But the problem is, if you don't have enough votes to move it from where it's at, we're wasting time, wasting the mayor's time. You know?
And he absolutely has a cost and the estimated cost to build it. Everybody got that, you've got it somewhere, get it. Everybody had it. Whoever voted for Mosley, what was that, 3 years ago? Then that information's in a booklet wherever you got it, I'm sure they get it for you, they'll do anything for that.
When can we have our official meetings of the jail study committee?
Oh, I know that.
What? Ask the question again,
Six
please.
members of the committee, when can we have our next meeting?
You call
You
me.
call it.
Well, I mean, does it have to be advertised or anything?
Yes.
No,
I mean,
a week from tonight?
well, I think what you need to do is establish an objective. Instead of just me, you know, let's establish an objective. You want me to come back with what Mosley on, let's say on a 500-bed facility, what they estimated the cost would be and what it would cost to staff it? Do you want us to do a staffing analysis of this concept? What do you want? And we'll supply the information. You tell us what you want.
What about the system that we saw in Coffee Cane, just for an example? You know, a lot of us like what we saw. Maybe it's the only one that I have seen. I can't compare it to others. But what if we had that kind of facility in place?
That's the current concept. That's how jails are built now.
Okay.
Is how they build them.
That's not a new concept as far as Mosley's concerned.
But every concept that they presented to us has included.
That was a group of architects that presented information to us. I'm assuming Mosley seems to be the one that you prefer.
That's the one you picked.
That's the one the commission hired. Now, they hired, there were 3 phases.
I wasn't there. You better.
There were 3 phases.
Okay.
There were 3 phases. We funded phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 was the design.
We need to decide what we want, where we want it, and then decide who's gonna do it.
Hired an architect. Unless you're gonna change that.
Mayor, Chairman, I make a motion we ask the mayor to go back and bring to us the analysis of 2 different sites that we can compare, and with the objective of making a decision whether we stay where we are or we go.
I'll second that motion.
Question is which 2 sites?
Well, again, I'm behind, but I'm hypothetically guessing that we might have a shot at MLK. It may be out of our ballpark.
How did you hypothetical? You do it. Not a hypothetical, it exists.
I know Joe Huntsman.
Bill, you gonna look at the Mosley?
Bill, what's, you know, we talked about this piece of property over here, and me and you've had a little discussion about it, but, I mean, there's plenty of room right there if you buy more facilities. Like I told you, that thing is 13 acres all the way up the road and all the way back down. You know, walk it off myself. Now, back here in the back end corner where Annex 2 and all that is a hole. Which needs to be filled if you run it up to level, you know, those buildings. But, you know, have a campus. What I want to see us do is have a place where, not that we do it now, but there's future growth area on that property.
And we could design it and not build it that way. I mean, I can talk to Mosley about, and I think I already have, and I think I've got an option that would extend over Addison Street.
Right. Well, and that, you were talking about, when you talked about that, if you come on over there, then you were going to go use this up here as parking, right?
Yes.
Am I looking wrong with it? Okay. Out here.
Come back to us with how much it's gonna cost for all the time.
Not this side, the other, but something I was looking at, it's going to be exponentially expensive.
Second, you got a motion and a second. Please get your motion.
Motion, that's
You just asked me.
They just can't stay away from this criminal desk. That's cute.
All right, did you guys, you have a date for the next meeting?
we're just going to, have it in the regular scheduled meeting.
We don't have time. Because we got a chamber meeting following.
Committees is Monday.
Oh, yeah, committee.
Do you want to have it then?
No, I'm gonna be out of town Thursday and Friday, I won't have time to get the information.
Do you want to go the 12th? No, courthouse is closed at 12. The 13th? Or do you want to go?
Can you have information for them?
Yeah. So
We
the
got
13th.
the information now.
Can you have information on Coffee County study?
Just today, I've got it at home, I can give you 5 minutes. Yeah, probably have Jack Price up for it. Well, prices are going up.
We could go Thursday the 8th.
It's up to you guys.
Did you say the 12th was out?
The 12th, the courthouse is closed on the 12th. Let's go the 13th. And Tuesday, November 13th.
November 13th, next Tuesday. 5 o'clock.
Everyone voted on the committee.